Have you ever wondered about the stories that didn't make it into the Bible? You know, the ones whispered about in hushed tones, hidden for centuries? One of these stories centers on Mary Magdalene, a woman whose name sparks curiosity and debate even today. She has been called many things: a sinner, a saint, a follower, a leader. But there is so much more to her story, a tale of forbidden knowledge and suppressed truths. Let me take you on a journey to uncover why her gospel, the Gospel of Mary, was labeled as forbidden knowledge, and what it might mean for us now. Mary Magdalene, you've probably heard of her as a devoted follower of Jesus. Some traditions paint her as a repentant sinner, others as a woman of unparalleled faith and devotion. But what if I told you there's more to her story, a side of Mary that was silenced, erased, and branded too dangerous for the masses? For centuries, she has been both venerated and vilified, her true role in the life of Jesus shrouded in mystery. What was it about her that made her a threat to the early church's power structure? Our story begins in the early years after Jesus' crucifixion. The apostles were in turmoil, unsure how to move forward without their teacher. Fear, doubt, and confusion clouded their minds as they grappled with the enormity of what had happened. In this chaos, Mary emerged as a key figure, not just a follower but a leader with profound insights. According to the Gospel of Mary, she shared teachings that Jesus had entrusted to her alone. These weren't ordinary lessons, they spoke of inner knowledge, spiritual awakening, and the soul's journey beyond the physical world, concepts that were revolutionary for their time. But here's the twist: not everyone welcomed Mary's revelations. Some of the apostles doubted her, questioning why Jesus would reveal such wisdom to a woman. Peter, in particular, is portrayed in the Gospel as struggling to accept Mary's authority. Others feared her teachings because they challenged the rising structure of authority in the early church. You see, Mary's Gospel didn't emphasize rules, rituals, or hierarchy. Instead, it urged believers to seek divine knowledge within themselves, to embark on a personal journey of spiritual enlightenment. Radical, right? Too radical for the early church, which was working hard to establish itself as the singular gatekeeper of God's truth. Over time, the Gospel of Mary was suppressed. It wasn't burned outright, but it was excluded from the official canon, deemed heretical, and pushed to the margins of history. The church needed a unified narrative, one that solidified its authority, and Mary's gospel was anything but conformist. For centuries, it lay hidden, a lost piece of the spiritual puzzle, until fragments were rediscovered in the 19th and 20th centuries in Egypt. Imagine the shock and intrigue of scholars who unearthed these ancient texts, realizing they held a window into a long-forgotten spiritual tradition. Reading these fragments is like peering into a secret vault. Mary describes the soul's liberation from earthly attachments, the overcoming of fears and doubts, and the journey toward spiritual freedom. She speaks of an intimate connection with the divine, a relationship not mediated by priests or institutions but directly accessible to all. It's a message of empowerment, one that resonates deeply in an age where people often feel disconnected from traditional forms of worship. Can you imagine how transformative these ideas must have been? And how threatening they were to those who relied on controlling the narrative of faith. The history of Mary Magdalene's gospel is steeped in mystery. The surviving manuscripts, written in Coptic and Greek, were found in places like Oxyrhynchus and Akhmim in Egypt, regions known for their vibrant and diverse early Christian communities. These were communities that often held alternative views of Jesus' teachings, emphasizing personal spiritual experience over institutionalized dogma. The texts, part of what we now call the Gnostic tradition, were fiercely independent and profoundly mystical. It's no wonder these writings were targeted for destruction as the institutional church grew more centralized and rigid. But why was Mary Magdalene herself such a controversial figure? For centuries, her identity was conflated with other women in the Bible. Some saw her as the sinful woman who anointed Jesus' feet, while others revered her as the first witness to the resurrection, a role that placed her at the very heart of the Christian story. This mix of devotion and suspicion reflects a deeper unease with the idea of a woman holding spiritual authority. Mary wasn't just a follower, she was a teacher, a confidant, and perhaps even the person who understood Jesus' message most deeply. Her gospel highlights this, portraying her as a guide to the other apostles and a keeper of sacred wisdom that transcended earthly power and control. Now, here's where it gets even more intriguing. Mary's gospel ends abruptly. The last pages are missing, leaving us with tantalizing questions. What else did she reveal? What profound truths were contained in those lost passages? Why were her words deemed too dangerous to preserve in full? And most importantly, what does her story teach us about the knowledge we've been denied? The gaps in her gospel serve as a haunting reminder of the fragility of history, of how easily voices can be silenced and truths obscured. The mysteries of faith often lie in the spaces between what we're told and what we're not. The Gospel of Mary challenges us to question what we've inherited and seek answers for ourselves. It's not just about theology, it's about empowerment, about reclaiming the divine wisdom that resides within each of us. Mary's teachings invite us to look within, to confront our fears and doubts, and to trust in the divine presence that exists in all of us. Her words are a call to spiritual independence, a reminder that the path to truth is personal and deeply transformative. Consider, too, the broader context of early Christianity. This was a time of intense diversity and debate, with countless groups interpreting Jesus' message in their own ways. The Gnostics, who valued personal spiritual experience, often clashed with those who sought to establish a unified doctrine. Mary's gospel stands as a testament to this rich and contested history. It's a reminder that faith has never been monolithic, and that the voices silenced in one era often resonate powerfully in another. The struggles of the early church to define orthodoxy weren't just theological, they were political, reflecting a battle for control over the hearts and minds of believers. So, why was the Gospel of Mary banned? The answer lies in its challenge to control. It dared to empower the individual over the institution, the spiritual over the material. It was, and still is, a reminder that the truth can't always be confined to one book, one doctrine, or one perspective. Mary's gospel invites us to question, to explore, and to seek, to embrace the mystery of faith rather than fear it. Mary Magdalene's story isn't just ancient history, it's a call to action. Her courage in speaking the truth, even when silenced, inspires us to seek our own spiritual path. What wisdom have you overlooked? What truths are waiting for you to uncover? Her story urges us to peel back the layers of tradition and doctrine to find the divine spark within ourselves, a spark that cannot be extinguished, no matter how deeply it's buried. If this story stirred something within you, don't let it end here. Dive deeper into the mysteries of faith, history, and the untold stories that shape our understanding of the divine. Imagine what we might uncover if we dared to seek the forbidden knowledge, just as Mary Magdalene once did. Let's keep the conversation going, because who knows? The answers we seek might just be hidden in the questions we've never dared to ask.